What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2. So, all the rage has been the new game mode. The Elemental Rumble is where it's at. You can get in there and farm up your new sets. However, nobody talking about the Frostweaver. We do have a new hero here, the Frostweaver, and we're going to check that out a little bit today. And I gotta say, it's actually kind of strong. Now, it's got 8 abilities, right? So if you're an ability power user, you stack focused ability power, you're going to shred. However, my personal own opinion is if I want to play a button mashing carpal tunnel build, I'm just going to jump on the Gunwitch. I just am. I'm not going to play the Frostweaver as an ability power hero. I'm sure people will, and people will get enjoyment out of it with you know, with all these cooldowns to have, you're no doubt going to be able to stack up massive damage. However, I personally do not want to get a third carpal tunnel surgery. So with that in mind, I am just not going to play it as ability power. Now, of course, as hero damage, you're going to get lots of value out of focused power and stacking up all those cooldowns as well. But it's not as required for the majority of play. So we're going to take a look at a hero damage build. Now, I got to say right up front, this is a very half-assed thrown together build. A few mix and match pieces, don't even have full shards in everywhere. I do have crucial shards, though. You can use buff damage, of course, as the Frostweaver does have a self-buff. You don't need pest repellent, you don't need snakeskin armor. So I personally would go with damage buff chip, healthy power chip, and then either swap or fragile. If you don't like to swap, you can go fragile and get a little bit more power. However, if you go fragile, of course, if you take any damage, you're going to have that 10 seconds of downtime. So I personally would probably say swap, damage buff, and healthy power. You want to get that on absolutely everything. Now, there is a few key shards that stand out, particularly for a hero damage build. First off, Hasten does work with the Frostweaver. Straight up 35% increase attack speed. I mean, why would you not, right? Hasten has to be there. Additionally, you got Critical Empowerment and Critical Strike, both crazy good shards. You're going to want both of those in there. And then you've got Glacial Amplifier. Increases the damage boost of Arctic Empowerment by 40%. Now, Arctic Empowerment, of course, is your number 6 ability there that you can keep up 100% of the time that has the mana reservation. Since we're not spamming abilities, we don't care about the mana pool, we will just keep that up all the time and making that kind of a no-brainer shard. Of course, as far as the Frostweaver specific shards, this one is a survival shard, so you're going to have to either spend some godly orbs, crack open chests, or just run survival to get this shard. You're not going to be able to buy it at the shop. Then we got the regular go-tos for a hero damage build, Coup de Grace and Power Gambit. And then we got Frost Guard. I just see no reason why you wouldn't use this. 34% less damage while Arctic Empowerment is active. Of course, it's not adding to our damage output, but dead heroes do no damage. We all know that. Dead Frostweavers do no damage as well. So keep your Frostweaver alive. Frost Guard, I think, is just a natural go-to. And then in the boots, we just got regular old boot stuff. Now, in the weapons, we got 2 very interesting ones. First off, Frost Slayer. Deal 34% more hero weapon damage to frozen enemies. The kicker here is you're going to be freezing enemies like a mofo. So this is going to have a lot of uptime. I still think it's probably an optional shard, but it will have massive uptime. And then we got Winter's Edge. This one's a straight no-brainer. Increased frost damage on every basic attack, scaling with hero damage. Absolute no-brainer. It's free damage. Just throw it in. That one's Chaos 5. Frost Slayer is Chaos 6. Frost Guard is Chaos 5. And then Glacial Amplifier, of course, is that survival one. So those, you know, not a complete set. Don't even have anything else in the helmet, but that is what we're going for this experiment. I threw a Blessing of Time on here, but I didn't want to throw the numbers off too bad. So you see I don't even have any hero damage on it. You would want something with hero damage. Probably a Ring of Poison would make the most sense, just to debuff the enemies as well. And then for the pet, we got a hero damage, hero health Snowstorm pet. And then the go-to weapon, of course, is the Earth Guardian staff. The Earth Guardian's weapons are always going to be the go-to weapons for single target damage on the majority of heroes. So no difference here. We got the Earth Guardian staff and no beneficial mods. I got crit chance on there, but this is basically just a ground drop. There's no real beneficial stuff on there. Obviously, crit chance is beneficial, but Axorang is not doing anything for us. Now, when we take a look at the regular just left click, now all we're going to focus on is the swap damage and then our 100% uptime buff. So I got no focus power in the mix. Remember how large focus power is in every situation. So if we pop our pet and we just spam our left click, we're going to be putting out some pretty decent damage. We're at about, what, 18 million? We'll probably end up evening out at like 15 mil or whatever. Looks like it's dropping to 14. Fairly decent damage output considering not fully modded, not fully sharded, and no other buffs. So no co-op teammate buffs, no empowerment auras or trees or anything else in the mix. Does pretty decent damage output. The main thing here is not having a focused power up. Focused power, you got what? That's a 5-second cooldown, so wouldn't really rely on that one. You got a 13-second cooldown on your number 8. You got a 9-second cooldown on your number 4. You got an 18-second cooldown on your number 3. Not so much on your number 1 or 2, but it's going to be very, very easy for you to get massive stacks of focused power. Now, where were we? Let's do another swap here real quick, just to make sure our swap is up. Looks like we ended up, after everything was done, it was down to 11 million DPS. But we can see prime uptime here. Let me get my permabuff back up. And that's the DPS we're putting out, just with hero damage, just spamming. Now, here's the kicker, y'all. The right click is huge. The right click is huge, y'all. It's a channel thing, kind of like the Abyss Lord. Doesn't work anywhere near the same as the Abyss Lord. This one puts a dot for damage over time on the enemy, which means you have to channel it for a second to get it stacked up. But it also will freeze enemies. So you're going to be getting freeze that's going to constantly be proccing your Frost Slayer Shard, which is a huge damage multiplier. But additionally, it's dot damage, so when you stop channeling, it's going to keep doing damage. So let's take a look at it. Of course, it is going to scale up quite nicely once that dot stacks. So we see it's going up and up and up. Even with my pet ability already spent, it's still climbing and doing more and more and more damage. It's finally settling in right there. And we did it without our perma buff up again. I'm getting terrible about that. So let's cycle this one more time. Let's keep the perma buff up. Let's wait for the pet. I knew I was missing something there, as the damage is normally quite a bit more than the regular left click. Let's let this pet reset here, and we'll dive back in and check it out. Now, this one, of course, is going to mean you're going to be playing mid-range. So now the benefit there is you got this ice wall, which even without being an ability power spec is still an incredibly useful tool, particularly for in mid-range builds. You'll be able to slap that down and then give yourself a little bit of safety as you get up and start blasting on the enemies. Let's check it out again with our swap and our pet, and we'll let this stack up, and we're going to see the number go higher. Remember, this is no focus power, y'all. Which means just adding in the focus power stacks without having any hero buffs, we're going to be pushing over 40, closer to 50 million DPS just with our right click, but additionally we're freezing enemies, and when we stop and run away, it keeps doing damage because it's a dot, And the damage over time is going to go for a while. As you see, it doesn't last as long as Burning Strikes does. But it's pretty good. It's actually pretty good. So definitely not a final verdict on my thoughts on the Frostweaver. I was not super excited about the Frostweaver. Not going to lie. Thematically, I'm not really into the theme. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not into the theme. As far as button masher builds, the Gun Witch is just so awesome, so super fun to play. So as far as being like a button masher, I probably would not really go Frostweaver. However, I think it's definitely worth checking out for anybody that does want to check it out, as it just seems pretty darn strong. Particularly with that alternate fire and the right click. Now, one thing that's super important with the alt fire is this polar vortex speed. You're going to want to spec into that for sure. That is the tick rate of the dot. So, yeah, it's not really explained super well, but that is what that is doing. So you're going to want to spec into polar vortex, and then just like regular, your regular hero damage, crits, etc., to get your Frostweaver squared away. Now, as far as mods go, I would definitely go Focus Power, 100%. The other 2 mod slots I think are pretty optional. Something crit related would probably be pretty good. Either just a straight up crit chance chip, or even something like Healthy Crit, or, whatever you decide to use in those. I think the only real requirement would, without a doubt, be Focused Power there. But the Frostweaver is going to be worth a look, y'all. Like I said, I was not overjoyed about checking this one out, but it does feel pretty darn good once you even just get the basics set up with it. But that will do it for now. Let me know what you think about the Frostweaver down in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Take it easy.